Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Greenbrier Urban Gardens. I'm really excited to have you back with me today. We're going to talk a little bit about how I prepare and plan for any season of my garden, but specifically right now for our fall garden, what I've done over the last couple of months, what I'm preparing for now, and some things that you guys can start incorporating even now or going forward as you continue to grow and plan your garden. So let's go ahead and get into that and talk a little bit about what our planning sessions are going to look like going forward. Some of the things that I've been doing here for our garden over the last couple of months. So as we finish up, we plant our spring garden, we watch it grow, we have all that fun, we start to harvest all of that amazing abundance of fruits and vegetables from our garden. Usually around end of May, I'm starting to get the itch for that fall garden and I want to start planting that garden. So June and July are perfect for that. As I'm still harvesting and I'm preserving so much of what's coming out of my spring and early summer garden, I now need to plan for our fall garden. Here in Phoenix, Arizona, in Zone 9, fall is a huge abundant planting time for us. And we have a lot that we can plant and grow during that time period. Again, as I've said in many videos before, we can plant year round, we can grow year round here, but the biggest abundance of our growing and when we can grow the most is our fall into our winter garden. So I kind of want to just quickly go over a few of the things that I do in June and July so that you can have this as a reference point, or you can start now. Here probably in the next couple of days, I'll be releasing our video on the 5 things that you need to be doing in August to prepare for your fall planting, which we will start usually around mid-September through October, and then how we do succession planting thereafter. But so some of the things that I do, I have my binder. I usually just do it at about 2 or 3 seasons at a time. And then I'll put away the other papers that I have. So I have this binder. I like this one because it folds back so I can have a flat surface here, which makes it very easy. As you know, some of the other 3-wing binders, you have to keep open like this, and that's too much for me when I'm sitting down in the evening. I'm sitting at the dining room table with my coffee, or I'm out in the garden and I want to make some notes. I have tabs here. Whoops. Sorry about that. I have tabs here. So I have in here my fall for 2024, my fall for 2025, spring for 2026, and then my fall for 2026. Now, when I did my fall for 2024, I did not put in here my spring. Spring was a little bit different this last year for us. I planted some things. I knew my west garden was going to be 99% tomatoes anyway. My east garden, I wasn't going to do a whole lot in because I knew we were going to be doing the chicken run extension, and I was going to let the chickens have full reign of that anyway. So I really didn't do a lot of detailed planning like I normally do for my gardens because of that, because I didn't plant as much as I normally would. So when I have this, I usually will have a sheet of paper in the front and put my wish list of everything I want to grow. When I think about the things that I want to preserve, when I think about the things maybe I just want for fresh eating, I may want to sell at the market. If it's something new I want to just try, I usually have a little area or pockets that I'll put some experimental things just to try new things that we've never tried before, or maybe didn't grow as well last time or a couple times ago, or it might be something that we didn't think that we really would enjoy eating, or how I would preserve it or enter it into our rotation of our meals. I may try it so that we can just experiment with it again. I make my list, like I said, my dream list. I will also here put down what I think I need to plant to put up for the year. So if I fast forward to 2025 or 2025 fall, where I have my list, I have some numbers here. So for example, when I started this whole journey, even back when I was gardening and I was still working full time, although I still had the pleasure previous to 2020 to work from home, I wanted to do more. I wanted us, even in an urban environment, to become much more self-sufficient. I wanted to start replacing things that we were buying at the grocery store. So the first thing that I made a commitment to, gosh, it must have been in 2021, maybe 2022, is if I can make it, I'm not going to buy it. For example, any bread products. Even if it wasn't sourdough yet, that I was really, really comfortable with and really wanted to do on a consistent basis. I had done sourdough. I knew how to, but even if I wasn't ready because I was working and I was busy and I didn't have the time commitment to really do sourdough for that week, even if it was yeast bread, I wanted to make anything I could for us. And so I knew what was in it. So if that was tortillas, if it was pasta, if it was rolls, hamburger buns, hot dog buns, or bread, anything that I could make. Then I thought, okay, even though I'm still working at the time, I want to work on tomatoes. I can easily grow tomatoes here. I can easily preserve tomatoes. They don't take a lot of time. They're water bath canned. Each canning process takes about 10 minutes to, do, and I can do that. So I started doing that. And I started with just tomato sauce. I was fairly successful with it. We didn't necessarily have enough for the year, but we would get pretty close. And so this year was a really big year for me and for tomatoes. I can confidently say that we have enough pasta sauce for the year. We have enough tomato sauce for the year, crushed tomatoes for the year. And I did a tomato jam that I put up for me that probably with what I did will last me a good couple of years, with harvesting some stuff fresh out of the garden of making tomato soup and a salsa. I liked both of those. So next year I will add that to the quantity of what I want to grow so I can put up as much as I can to hopefully last us for the year. Tomato soup we won't need a ton of, so if I put up a little bit of that, that'll be good. Salsa, we probably go through 1, maybe 2 pints a month. So that wouldn't be a whole lot extra for me to grow. Plus, the tomato plants that I had probably would have yielded enough to do that. I got a little overwhelmed towards the end of the season and kind of stopped harvesting as many. I would pull some for fresh eating and stuff, but I had so much that I had to preserve. I had to process that. So I know probably what I planted last year, I can plant again next spring and harvest enough to give us 100% of our tomato products for the next year. So that's exciting. So now this year, my challenge is, I want to put up all of our broccoli. Now I have done that in the past. I've grown quite a bit of broccoli. I do know that with the broccoli that I grow, which is the emerald green broccoli, it gives me a nice big head. And with that head, I can divide it into 2 servings, so 2 meals or 2 sides to a meal, and vacuum seal those, blanch them, vacuum seal them, and put those in the freezer. And I know that that's enough for at night, or if I want to pull out for the grandkids for lunch, that'll feed us. So I know now about how many broccoli plants I need to plant. I don't know that I have the room to do them all at one time, so now I'm planning on succession planting. So these are all the things that I'm working on in my head and on my notebook in late May, June time frame. So now that I have all of that in my head, I know what I want to grow. I need to map it out. This one's torn, so I'm going to try and hang on to it. So I've used this grid paper now, and I just do each square is a foot, and then I can draw out my beds, right? So I map out each garden. So this here is our east garden, our first one. So I have my beds here, I have here. This is the gate to get in, and the chicken run is back over here. So I can map out everything that I want to plant in this garden, where I want to do it, if I'm going to do a half a bed, if I'm going to do a full bed, whatever the case may be. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but like this bed here that's against the patio, this is always my carrot bed, and I will plant predominantly every bit of it carrots, and I'm going to put 1 tomato plant over here just for fresh eating for the season. Like this one back here against the chicken run will be kale and spinach, and so on and so forth. So I do that with all of them. Let me flip this over. Whoops, someone fell out. That's okay. Put this on there. This one here is our west garden. So back here along the fence line is where I just did all the tomato plants. This is where I'll do all my broccoli. I can fit 6, 8, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, about 32 broccoli plants across this back fence. It is approximately 40 feet in length. It's 4 separate beds, but they're 10 feet apiece, but they butt up against each other. There's no space in between them. and then they're 3 feet deep. So I can fit 30 plants there. So if I do 30 plants and I can do 2 meals, that's 60 meals just out of the broccoli here alone that I can do. What I do know is this side and here in the middle will reach to maturity quicker where I can harvest. So I probably can take that half of this bed out and do a succession planting of the remaining part of the broccoli that I want to do to put up for us for the season. So again, I live in an urban lot. I live in the middle of the city in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm maximizing any space that I have and really thinking through succession planting of what I want to replace for the year outside of fresh eating, putting up a few things for in our backyard, right? So I plan all that out, okay? So I have it all mapped out now. My next thing is, now that I know exactly what I want to grow, I fairly have a good idea of the quantity of what I want to grow for myself, as well as then I have a separate list that I can go over and do like a whole farmer's market plan with you guys, but I know pretty much what I want to try and bring to the market this year for starts. I go through my seeds. So I use these. I know a lot of people do. They're technically photo boxes. I'm gonna move you guys down so you can see just a little bit. There we go. So they're photo boxes. And let me scoot some of this stuff out of the way. Let's move the notebook out of the way. So they're photo boxes. These don't fit in there, so I leave them on top. Okay, so I take these and then I label them. So like, this is my spinach, and I can open it up and I can see what kind of spinach plants I have or seeds I have. So some of the ones that don't already have the date on them, I will date. Johnny Seeds does a really good job for me of dating it for when I ordered it, which I really, really like. So for example, when I'm going through this, well, that's my summer spinach, I will use this one first because this one was from March of 2022. And this one's from April of 2025. Now, what I do know is with this one, so knowing that these are from 2022, I will use these first, but I will also be aware that they're older because I happen to find them and I didn't have them filed away. So that's why they're so old. Anyhow, but I will increase the amount that I start. So for example, if I want 10 spinach plants, for example, for myself, for the market, whatever, I probably, because these are coming up, these are now 3 years old, I will probably plant 20 of them because my germination rate might drop just because they're a little bit older. I could still get 20 plants, right? I still very easily could get 20 plants from these. And then at that point, then I would just, because I can't throw anything out, I would either try to sell it or I would tuck it in different places in the garden. But I know that I may not, so I would do that. So Johnny Seed does a really good job. But if I get my seeds from someplace else or I pick them up along the way, I will write the date of when I purchased them. But Johnny does a really good job of dating them for me. So I have all of these in here. So when I'm ready, right, I can go through all of my seeds and can see what I have, see what I'm ready, you know, I can plant, see if I need to order anything. So this is what I'm doing usually in very early June, sometimes late May. Sometimes I get antsy and I start looking at it in early May. But this is what I'm doing then. And I'm taking inventory of what I have. I've made a plan of what I want to do. I've made a note of how many seeds or how many plants I'm going to want to plant for myself. I have my separate folder that I do for the market, and then I go through my seeds. Now I need to place my order of wherever I do. Now, I have ordered seeds all over the place. I've bought them from big box stores. I have done everything. The one that I do like the most, so right now that I've had the most success with, is Johnny Seeds. I have ordered them from Baker Creek. I have ordered them from Haas. Haas has been fairly successful for me. I've done onion starts from Haas that have been very successful, and they're very easy and nice to work with. We had a mishap in delivery last year of our onion starts, but they were very accommodating and gracious and took care of that for me. And so I would say my top two right now, I'm not affiliated with them. I don't get sponsored by them, nothing, but would be Johnny Seed and Haas. But most any seed company is fairly reputable. Just do your research. Things might work better for you in your area or your way than maybe for me. And sometimes I think it's just a preference. So I have, let's just backtrack, right? I've dreamt, I've made my list of what I want to do. I've made my plan, I've mapped everything out, I've taken inventory of what I have, and now I've placed my order. So now we are probably, after all of that, I am probably now, you know, mid to late June, and now I just need to make for sure that I have all of my supplies that I need to seed start and start all of these seeds. I do start almost all of my seeds indoors. Some of the ones that I don't, carrots for sure I don't. I direct sow carrots. When I do potatoes, obviously I don't start those inside unless it's a sweet potato. But almost everything else I do seed start. I've found the most success with that here. I have a huge bird problem, so anytime they just start to sprout, the birds take off with them, pluck them out of the ground. So it works really well for me just to start my seeds indoors. Starting seeds indoors, you do not have to make it complicated. I have a whole shelf that I'll turn you around here in a minute, and I'll show you some of the things that I've already started, what it looks like. You can have a little light system. I did when I first started all of this. I had my potting shed outside. I had a little corner of it where I had my little light hung up, and I would start a tray or two there because I didn't do large amounts like I'm doing now. Now I have a huge rack. You could get a rack like this and set it up in your garage. That's what, you know, this time of year. They'll stay nice and warm and have some lights for them for when they sprout. And then I just use like a garden sprayer, like traditionally that you would use for, you know, fertilizing or anything like that I use for water. So I make it fairly simple, and then I will obviously transplant these. I'll up pot them, and I'll take you on that journey, and then I'll transplant them out anywhere from mid-September to mid-October, depending on the temperature here. And then we will have our fall garden. Okay, so I told you guys I'd turn you around and show you some of the things that we've done here to start some of our seeds. So this is my seed starting rack. We got these racks at Home Depot. You know, I want to say they're probably only about like $125, $150. They weren't terribly expensive. They're very sturdy. They come with wheels if you choose to. We have them here in the grow room. So I have one room in my house that is specifically dedicated to starting our seeds. Behind me is some houseplant stuff. On the other side, I have some more for storage and things of that nature. So I just use cells, 72 cell trays. So I got these ones. They're not as sturdy as some of the other ones that I have, but I got this on Amazon. I can put the link below. I got about 20 of these that came. They're not as deep, so I'll have to transplant probably a little bit sooner, but that's okay. I got those, and I have this that makes it a little bit easier. This is a little bit heavier, but this here, I think you can see, there we go, has the divot. So once I fill with soil, I just push down and it leaves the little holes to put the seeds in. So that makes seed starting much quicker. I have a bus tub that I put my soil in. You can do it however you want. For seed starting, right now, really mainly because I just had it left over when I would do microgreens, but I'm using coco coir. But you can use anything that's not very expensive as long as it holds and retains some moisture. I really am liking the coco coir, and I can source it fairly inexpensively, so I might continue with that. These are some of the ones that I have up potted. I use these here specifically, not for myself necessarily, as much as I do for the markets. You can use those. I have the clear ones, so they're a little bit bigger for the bigger ones, like my squashes and stuff that I'll put in. You can use solo cups. I like the clearer ones. I'm not so happy with those little black ones. I like the clear ones because then I can see any root activity or whatever, or moisture. I can see how wet or dry they are, so that's always fun. I also use these domes. Those need to be, I'll water those for you, to hold in some warmth as well as some moisture. So that helps because I do have the ceiling fan in here, so it does get a little bit cooler in here, or dry. And then I have them all planted. I use this one's a 2-gallon, but you can get in the 1-gallon. They're just the sprayers that you can use to spray. I think a lot of people use it for like weed killer and stuff, but that's not what I use it for. I literally just put water in there, and then I will come through and I will just keep them damp. I usually find that I need to water right now maybe once a day. Sometimes I'll check them twice a day. But for the most part, if I just come in and give them, keep the top damp, underneath is fairly damp. So like this is my green beans. And I will get these just, and I'll go through and do each one. I spend probably about 20-30 minutes at most a day. I don't think this does anything, but I also wet the inside of the dome. I don't think it does anything. I think it's mainly for myself more than anything. And then I can do that. Usually I take them off and put them on the table and get them all watered in. Here is some cabbage, so I'll take that out all the way and then I'll show you. Then I started, so I have this, you can see I have fairly good germination rate. I have a few cells that did not, so I have already gone back in and replanted. I may not get all of them, and that's normal, that's okay. You don't have to, you're not always gonna get 100% germination rate. But some of them that I redid, I can see starting to come up. This one is here. I have a couple others. So anyway, so I give these a good water. As they start to sprout like this, I'll finish this one really quick, then I'll show you. Because if I don't, I will forget what I have done. Anybody else do that? Stop mid doing something and then forget what you're even doing? I think with me it's happening more and more. But anyhow, I put them on these trays here, which I traditionally had to do microgreens, which I still do microgreens, but I have so many of them because we aren't doing it to the capacity we were, that I'll put them in here and then I'll start watering from underneath. So I'll just fill this a little bit with water, about halfway with water, and water from underneath once they start getting a little bit more established. And that's what I'll do. I do that probably once a day. Like I said, once they're established enough, I will up pop them. And then I'll keep them in here, and I'll only usually water from underneath. Like this one's full of water right now, so I just watered it, and do that. And then I have all of them that I do here. And then I will take some to the market and we'll plant some. So again, you can get these lights cheap. I have other ones. I'll link the ones that I got off Amazon. These ones, I think we also got off Amazon. But the other ones are just, they're littler, and just a little light that hang from chains that I think would be a little bit easier for some folks. So I'll link those in the description below also that we've ordered. I'll link these also if you choose to. And once you use them, had to use some washers and stuff to get it to work with these shelvings, but it's always possible to get it to work. All right, guys, so I'm really excited to take you guys on this journey, and I'm excited to hopefully encourage you, support you, guide you, answer any questions you have to help you guys be successful in growing whatever you want to. Like I said, you don't have to overwhelm yourself. One step at a time, right? I have a lot of big dreams and a lot of things that I want to do, and we've come a long, long way. We're really excited to take this now to the next level of what we're producing for ourselves. We have our systems in place, we have our structures in place. We had the last big one, which is extending that chicken run. And we have some plans of planting to make things grow even better here on this property in the deserts of Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm just excited for that, right? It's just such a good feeling. And I've posted on Instagram a couple of times and stuff. You know, I can make my breakfast in the morning, and it's just so satisfying to know those eggs were mine. I made that bread, you know, to have toast. I made the jam, the fig jam to go on it. And then I had sauerkraut, which was from last year's cabbage harvest. And I can keep that for the year in the fridge, and I can eat on that all year. And it's just so gratifying to know that in the city limits, I don't have land. I live on an urban lot, and I can grow my own food, you guys. So I'm excited. I will be putting out a video probably here in the next couple of days of the 5 things that we need to do in August to prepare our gardens for planting in September and October. So look forward to that. Some of the little things that we need to get out early in the morning, but get out and do here in August. So guys, thank you so much for being a part of this with me. Thank you so much for supporting us in our channel. And please subscribe, share, like. If you know anybody else that's interested in growing here in the valley and going on this journey with us, God bless, and I'll talk to you soon.